last night, about 10 to 11, I was scrambling writing a piece. With everyone having talked about Anthony Joshua and Francis Ngannou was in the offing, along with potentially a Hrgovic fight or even a Zhili Zhang fight for Anthony Joshua. That was the talk on the street, certainly as insiders. And then bingo, I reckon probably someone from Francis Ngannou team spilt something on the other side of the pond. And our friend Ariel Helwani said, right, I'm going to get on there and do it. And Eddie Hearn jumped on social media. Frank Warren was on social media. And obviously the news was out. Exhibition, Ned?
No.
Finally?
Yeah,
but we can't call it no one can call it an exhibition after what Francis did with Tyson Fury.
Yeah, listen, the first one I don't think was an exhibition. Listen, we'll get stuck into this.
No, come on, let's rewind. Let's not be recidivist about this.
Go on.
At the time, virtually no one gave Francis Ngannou a chance. But on the October the 28th last year, he made himself a player in the heavyweight division. Does he deserve to be ranked at number 10 by the WBC? Probably not. But from what he produced and what's happening with this kind of super league of heavyweight boxing at the moment, underwritten by the Saudi Arabians and the Riyadh season, if we're going to get 5 heavyweight events a year, it's quite interesting how quickly the ladders and snakes, the snakes and ladders are moving. I mean, I've got my top 13, if you like, at the moment, and it's slightly different to what it was maybe 4 months ago. And I think you could probably slide Ngannou into the top 15 and go, mind seeing him against 7 or 8 of those guys. He won't have 7 or 8 fights.
No,
but
this is it.
And this might, well,
it is it.
It could be. I mean, I don't think Anthony Joshua will lose to him, but Ngannou carries dangers. There's no doubt about it, and we now know.
Yeah, we've got more data on him now. I think.
I'm glad I'm not fighting him on March the 8th. It's a Friday, by the way. I mean, I can't officially announce this, but Anthony Joshua kind of teased it on his Instagram today. Back at it, 8th of the 3rd. 2024, which is a Friday, interestingly. Obviously, Ramadan starts, I think, on the Sunday. So for what would it be, cultural and religious reasons in Islamic society, they probably don't want the event going into Ramadan itself.
Given what you saw at the end of the year, and the end of the year most certainly finished in a more positive place than the start of the year. I remember doing this show at the start of last year, and it was all a bit doom and gloom. Are we going to get this? Are we going to get that? And
travesty was one of the words we were using. It'd be a travesty if we don't see these fights. Do you remember?
And we didn't see them in 2023, but what we did is finish the year in a more positive space, because I think we all gained a bit more of an understanding as to how 2024 could play out, because of what we experienced through Riyadh season and the influx of Saudi Arabian money. There is no doubt that these things are now possible because there are large chunks of cash on the table in order to basically give people no excuse to not make these fights. So we finished 2023 in a far more positive space. And we also finished not just because of the prospect of what could happen in 2024, but because of some of the performances that we actually witnessed at the back end of 2023. We've now got to ourselves and gone, hang on a minute, this could be a real goer. We could genuinely get AJ versus Fury at some point in 2024.
Absolutely. It's definitely in the water now again,
And not just from a business point of view, actually from a sporting, competitive point of view, you think to yourself, that's actually, could be a good fight, that.
Yeah.
Anyway, given what you saw Anthony Joshua do against Otto Wallin, is Francis Ngannou the right choice of next opponent?
He's certainly an opponent with jeopardy, and he will be paid. They needed to find an out, or an in, if you like, for the whole process of what's happening over there. If we call it the Super League of heavyweight boxing at the moment, and obviously the heavyweight division is playing out, you know, albeit we've got a Bivol in there at light heavyweight, Dimitri Bivol, and we've got a Jaya Pataya at cruiserweight in there as well. Outside that, and we had a Jack McGann as well, didn't we? And what is he, 154? If we precluding those, if we look at the heavyweight division at the moment, Anthony Joshua, I think, has put himself in 3rd position. With that performance behind Fury and Usyk. I think you can clearly make a case that that was one of the most complete technical performances I've seen from him in probably in 5 or 6 years, because he got all his tactics right. People will come out and say now, yeah, but Otto Wallin looked pretty useless.
No, it's nonsense. Anthony Joshua made him look useless.
He completely nullified him. He hit him hard, step-in jab to the body.
It's the
and
best
head.
Joshua's looked for a long time.
I agree, and I said to him myself after the press conference on the night, said to him personally, Anthony, I think that's the best I've seen you, maybe ever. Technically, I thought it was technically perfect for 15 minutes. He barely took a blow. When he did take a punch, he was back at it. Lovely to see the jab and the left hook coming together as a combination. Just everything looked right, and weirdly, and I didn't use any of the quotes from Ben Davidson until the day of the fight in terms of written piece. Ben Davidson spoke exactly how, to me privately, how they were going to fight that fight, and that's exactly what Anthony Joshua did.
The partnership's great.
Yeah, I agree.
And
We've thought that all along, haven't we? Whenever as soon as we heard they were together, I think Ben's the right person. The difficulty for him is going to come if he's training Anthony Joshua to fight Tyson Fury.
He won't do that. I don't think he'll do that.
I think he's struggling with it.
He won't do it.
I think he's struggling with it.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I raised the question at the press conference. He didn't want to answer it. And that's not because we're not there yet.
Yeah.
There's hurdles to get over. And as I said to him, but it's a sport. It's a sport.
But he's not built like that, is Ben.
No, I agree.
Ben has a friendship with Tyson Fury.
Yeah.
They've got a very deep and personal relationship.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think out of respect for Anthony Joshua, he wouldn't do it the other way around either.
It's interesting, though, isn't it?
It is, because I think from an Anthony Joshua point of view, you want Ben Davidson in your corner, because that partnership seems to work. It looked really, really good on December 23rd, and I think that this has to be the thing going forward. And what I saw on December 23rd excites me for 2024 for Anthony Joshua.
Can I throw it back at you? Obviously, what I didn't finish what I was saying there was, I'm sure there was a huge truckload of cash on the table for Joshua to fight Ngannou.
Yeah.
Because it's a real tease, that matchup, when you think about the thumping punchers they both are, and you know the fact that there is a little jeopardy around Joshua's chin as well, and Ngannou looked very good against Tyson Fury. Split decision, remember that was over 10 rounds. So. A majority decision,
yes.
Sorry, not a split decision, a majority decision over 10 rounds. So, that I don't know. You can't write Ngannou off anymore, and he's got a great team in Dewey Cooper and John Mbomba, and maybe Mike Tyson will be in his corner again. So I think I want to throw it at you, because you can be quite critical of these things. Yep. I'm happy with the matchup. I'm looking forward to it, because I think we'll have had February the 17th. We'll know where we lie with the undisputed. We'll know what's happened to the 4 belts. We know it's a 2-fight deal between Fury and Usyk, so they'll probably fight in the summer as well. To your mind, should Joshua have gone for a Zhang or a Hrgovic if they were on offer as well?
Well, I think what boxing fans need to do, and I'm absolutely one of these people that need to do this, is that we need to fully understand that it isn't a sport first and foremost. Sporting merit isn't at the forefront of people's thought processes when matchmaking. It's a business. Yeah. That's what people are trying to do.
And money speaks. Those are the two things.
Course.
Money talks, and it's a business, yeah.
Of course, we're trying to satisfy ego and greed at large percentages of time in order to get people in the ring. And I think when you actually take a step back and analyse this, when they announced, for example, when they announced Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou, I referred to it as a circus fight, a bit of a joke fight, and I stand by that. I stand by everything that I said regarding that particular fight.
But you were wrong.
No, I wasn't wrong.
It wasn't a joke.
It was. Listen, let me finish what I'm saying.
Yeah.
On paper, when you look at that fight, the heavyweight champion of the world who didn't defend his belt in 2023 was allowed to fight a guy making his boxing debut in a non-title fight. That, on paper, from a sporting merit point of view, is a joke. That should not have been allowed to have happened. I understand it from a business standpoint as to why it ended up playing out. Now, for me, as I watched that fight, you're right in what you're saying. Francis Ngannou surprised everybody. The threat of Francis Ngannou going into that fight for the majority of people was power. Could he land the power? We've seen it in the UFC.
For about 10 minutes. Yeah.
Can he land the power on Tyson Fury? I didn't give him a cat in hell's chance of being able to do that because Tyson Fury is a supreme boxer, and I didn't believe that Francis Ngannou could land that power. I didn't count that Tyson Fury would turn up the version of Tyson Fury on that particular night. For me, he might deny this, but I don't think he took it seriously. I don't think he turned up in shape. And he, obviously, when you're booking a fight on December 23rd for another guy and overlooking the person that's in front of you, you kind of play into that narrative. And what we got is the best version of Francis Ngannou against, in my opinion, the worst version of Tyson Fury. That's what we got on that particular night. Now, whether we agree or disagree with the result or not, the fact of the matter is that the best version of Francis Ngannou didn't beat the worst version of Tyson Fury. That's what happened on the evening. And it happened like that because Tyson Fury's a supreme boxer and he could navigate the actual situation and he came through it. He got away with one, so to speak. He's not going to have that attitude going into a fight with Alexander Usyk. Now, going into the fight, there was no data on Francis Ngannou as a boxer. Nobody knew. There was no blueprint. Nobody knew what he was all about. Everybody thought it was about power. On the night, he showed us that he can hold his form. He's good, orthodox and southpaw. Got a good jab, good ring IQ, and showed a lot of patience in that fight.
And he's immovable in lots of ways. And he's 20 stone, 6'5", and he can punch.
Very good on the back foot, good counters. And
kept it simple, didn't he?
Very kept it simple. And we've seen it in MMA in 4-ounce gloves, and now we've seen it in a boxing ring against a 6'9" heavyweight champion. He's very difficult to move, very difficult to put down. When you hit him, he can take a punch, can Francis Ngannou. So there's lots of things there now that Anthony Joshua
creates jeopardy for Joshua.
Well, Joshua actually has information now.
Yeah.
I think the element of surprise around Francis Ngannou is now gone. Because you look at the team up of Anthony Joshua, Ben Davidson and his team, they're very analytical. They look at tape, they look at all different ways of going about trying to make a fight. I actually think this is more straightforward than Anthony Joshua than people give it credit for. I think we'll talk to Lee Phelps a little bit later on about the odds on this particular fight. I think we're going to find that Anthony Joshua's an overriding favourite, and I think he comes through.
He's 7-1 on.
I think he comes through.
He's
quite
7-1 on. He's a huge favourite in this.
But with the casual audience who look at this, they will look at Francis Ngannou put Tyson Fury down, pushed him all the way, and some people think Francis Ngannou won that fight. All right? The narrative there for Anthony Joshua is go and do to Francis Ngannou what Tyson Fury couldn't do to him. And that then sets up, hopefully, the fight that we all want to see at the end of the year, Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury. Listen, with Riyadh season, with money from Saudi Arabia, with all these things, we're going to still get the circus. This is still the circus. Let's be dead honest about it. It is still the circus. But sprinkled around this circus, we're going to get some killer fights. We're getting the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world.
I just don't agree with you. I don't
you don't think it's a circus?
No.
Why?
Look, was it a circus? Let me throw this at you.
No.
On
UFC,
UFC question.
Is the two-time heavyweight champion in the world?
In 2007, Brock Lesnar came into UFC. Okay? 3 fights later, he was fighting.
You're talking about a different sport now.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is, no, it's not a circus. They're all fighters. It's not. I don't see it as a circus. I mean, circus, circo. I mean, it is a carnival. I mean,
there you go, then. Two-time unified heavyweight champion of the world fighting a guy that's never won a fight.
Well, never won a fight.
Well, never won a boxing match.
No, never. He hasn't won a boxing match, but the guy can box. The guy can stand up.
But he's never won a boxing match.
What thing is? I mean, we can argue this all night, but Francis Ngannou in MMA is a stand-up fighter, isn't he?
Yes.
He's a striker, isn't he? Notably,
right.
That's what he is. He's a striker. So he's also a man who wanted to be a boxer.
Yes.
So all his intent. I mean, I used to watch him. Watching him in his MMA career, in his UFC career, and it was all about could Francis get hold of you with his hands, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It wasn't about. Obviously, his wrestling is decent. Obviously,
it's got better.
Well,
yeah, and I've been wrestled myself by him. But yes.
Listen, no, they say that when you go to the ground, it evens out. But when you're whatever you are, 13 stone, and he's 20, you haven't got any chance. No. And his arm is like your thigh, then you haven't got any chance. But he's an incredibly strong man. I think rather than circus, I think it's all a spectacle.
Is that not the same thing?
Yeah, but what I don't want to be is negative about it.
I'm not negative about it.
Good, because I think we're celebrating. Look at what we're celebrating is huge investment in the blue ribbon division.
Absolutely.
Of boxing, where of our heavyweights, where honestly I think for 15 events. We're going to get this incredible Super League, and I think at the moment, if you look outside if you look outside Anthony Joshua and Francis Ngannou, I think he'll beat Francis Ngannou, but I do worry for him as well in the fight. That if he gets caught by Ngannou, Ngannou will capitalise. And there are dangers in the fight. There's no doubt about it. You have to say that now, because if the best Anthony Joshua doesn't turn up, there could be problems for him. I hope so, and I think he will. I agree. But you look down this list at the moment.
Hold that thought on the list.
Okay.
Because we're going to carry this on.
But it's quite exciting, I think. It's
an extremely exciting time. Like I said, you're going to get sprinkled in fights that fans are going to go, this is mad, why is this happening? And then the next one will be, oh my days, as if we're getting that.
And one other thing, I don't think these heavyweight events are going to be consigned only to Saudi Arabia. I think there'll be events outside as well.
Okay, we'll bring that back in a minute. Stick with us. It's Fight Night on talkSPORT.